Today we're going to be looking at the 2020 presidential election if the economy is booming by the time we reach 2020. So right now the Democratic nominees in almost all of the states that are currently up in both the Senate and the governorships are really focusing away from the economy because the president right now is doing very well with the economy. They are focusing on things like immigration or gun rights or a number of other issues that pretty much bring attention away from what's happening with the economy. Whether or not this is an Obama-era policy help or it's just Trump doing very well as a president, people fail to acknowledge both sides of the political spectrum, and also it turns into something that makes it seem like either Trump is doing worse or Trump is doing better. When you look at it from an unbiased standpoint, which is pretty much impossible at this point in time based off our given electoral history and, the fact that this is a human endeavor, everything cannot be truly unbiased because we are human. We will always have an inherent bias regardless of what we're doing. But still, when we look at things, we can pick and choose what we want to believe. But right now, I would say the president is doing very well in terms of the economy. Also, there would be the factor that Obama definitely could have helped with that. I'm not going to, fully lay out the entire effect of Obama on it, and I'm not going to completely give this all to Trump, but also you can't take it away from Trump, the fact that he is doing very well with the economy. There's a reason why most people focus away from the economy when they talk about certain issues. Again, immigration or gun rights or women's health, a number of other issues that don't necessarily pertain to the economy, because that's not something that would help the Democrats come the midterm elections. Okay, it was something that helped them in 2008, possibly 2012, and then 2016, Trump won the election. So if the economy is booming, we're going to see a number of Republican states, but a number of Democratic states. I'm actually doing a video with an economic depression today. You should expect a landslide for the Democrats in that video for obvious reasons. But if the economy is booming, I would actually say that the economy is doing very well right now. It would probably just tick up a little bit better, and Trump would easily play that so many times, to rebut every single point that's saying it's the economy stupid or that type of argument. That would help the president in a 2020 presidential election. If the economy does end up booming, I'm not going to say this is going to be a Republican landslide, mainly because a number of states that would be directly affected are states that were already Republican in 2016. Or if we look at other states like New York or California, which could directly benefit from an economic boom in the United States, probably still aren't going for the Republican Party. These are still Democratic states before, maybe in the 80s, possibly in the 90s. After the year 2000, we have gotten so partisan that a number of states aren't going to flip. Even in that economic depression video, states like Wyoming and Idaho are going to remain in the Republican column, as states like New York and California are going to remain in the Democratic column today. But I will be doing this by a shaded region. We are going to see some solid Democratic states lean a little bit more to the right. I'm not saying these states are going to go into the Republican column in 2020. This is not at all an election prediction. This is just as if the only issue that was prominent was the economy and if it was doing very well for President Trump. And obviously, he played it up in 2016, talking about how he would be good for the economy and immigration, but immigration is not doing too well for the president at this point. So right now, he is diverting attention away from a number of other issues, which isn't necessarily the worst thing, and it's not a bad attribute. Every politician does it. He's trying to bring attention towards the economy, especially with getting out Republican voters, saying that Democrats would reverse policies that are helping their small businesses, things like that. So enough talking. We're going to start off with the safe Republican states. Most of the states in 2016 will become safe Republican states. States like Texas or Arizona or even Georgia will now land in the safe Republican column. We do not see a possibility of Democrats making pickups, especially in areas where Trump already won in 2016, and he just fulfilled the promise of the economy being very good for the Republican Party. States like Ohio and Iowa now become safe states for President Trump, and that puts him at around 215 safe states, I would say, would be safe in its column right now. As for the safe Democratic states, states like Vermont would become safe Democratic, well, already safe Democratic. New York, my home state of Maryland, of course the district, California, and possibly Hawaii. Let's see if we're missing anything here right now. Maybe Illinois. That one's probably, I would say Illinois narrowly, though. I think that one could fluctuate over into the likely column for right now. But we've pretty much filled in all these safe Democratic states except for Massachusetts, and now Massachusetts has now been filled in. So when we're looking at this map, again, there are 188 electoral votes currently in the toss-up column. We're going to start by filling in the safe the likely states for right now for Donald Trump. So if the economy does end up booming, states like Pennsylvania, Michigan, and Wisconsin will lean even more to the right. This was a very, very big issue. Immigration did not matter to the Rust Belt as much as the economy did. And if this is something that the president is doing very well in, you can expect him to gain even more voters. A number of independent voters that were too, iffy about voting for Trump, possibly didn't even vote, would come out and vote for the president, or a number of other Democratic voters that still remained in the Clinton column but were very highly considering voting for Trump. Now we could possibly see the 3 states here get even more Republican, and it's something that we would likely see. Over in Oregon and Washington, these states I actually see as likely in the Democratic column, getting closer than before, but still likely in the Democratic column. We see states like Colorado. We'll come back to because I don't want to focus on Colorado too much just yet, but states like North Carolina still likely for the GOP, Florida likely as well. That means it goes over 5%, and we haven't really seen that. George Bush was the last time there was actually a big victory there when he won by 5% in 2004. Then 2008, Obama wins by 3, and then less than a percentage point in 12, and then Trump wins it by around less than 2%. I don't know the exact margin. And then we go into 2020. If the economy is doing phenomenal, you can expect a Trump victory there by over 5%, considering he would gain a number of independent voters that were, again, like in the Rust Belt, iffy to vote for him the first time. We go over to North Carolina. That's not North Carolina. That's the state of New Hampshire. So the state of New Hampshire, I would say likely lands in the Trump column right now. They pretty much go with either political party. Usually the state doesn't vote likely for either type of candidate unless it's a Democrat. So it never votes likely for the Republican Party, but we could actually see it going likely for the GOP. And that puts Trump at 309 electoral votes, so surpassing what he got in 2016. Obviously, the 2nd District would still be safe. Maine at large would be actually leaning for right now, and I'm really iffy about this one, so I'm actually going to come back to it. I don't want to characterize it just yet, but that leaves 72 electoral votes, I guess, too close to call. 154 for the Democrats and 312 for Donald Trump. So now we're going to go to some Clinton states from 2016 that would be swing states in 2020 and actually lean in the Republican column. So we've pretty much finished off all the likely states. Now let's go into the leaning states. Minnesota, the first one. That one easily goes into the leaning column for Donald Trump. He almost won it in 2016. Keep in mind, this is the state that hasn't gone to the Republican Party since 1972, the most out of all states because Reagan won every single state in 1984. But still, Minnesota remains in the actually goes into the Republican column or remains in the Trump column, giving them 322 electoral votes. But that's not the only state that would flip. The state of Nevada would also flip, again, a state that he narrowly lost, only by a very, very, very narrow margin compared to other Democratic nominees. So right now, it seems like Trump would do well in the state of Nevada. Colorado is another state that I would lean over into the Trump column, giving him a total of 337 electoral votes. But New Mexico, I narrowly see leaning into the column for the Democratic Party. There are times where I do see New Mexico going to Donald Trump against certain Democratic nominees, which would be even worse for the Democrats in some states than if there was and the economy was booming. Because, again, New Mexico voted for Hillary Clinton by 9%. I do see a drastic swing in a number of other states, but New Mexico I still see very, very, very narrowly. I'm going to get yelled at this for the comments regardless, but still, New Mexico narrowly goes to the Democratic Party, giving them 159 electoral votes. So I actually didn't choose a nominee, probably choose anyone there, but I'm not going to choose a nominee because, again, that's not set in stone just yet. Maybe once we reach 2020 or 2019, whenever people start announcing, which is actually getting up pretty soon. We are around, let me see, I don't want to scroll down, but we are, again, less than 100 days away from the 2018 midterm elections, so start your countdowns. Pretty cool. But Virginia I would see as leaning into the column for Donald Trump, giving him 350 electoral votes. We're actually starting to reach toss-up column. Not toss-up column, the landslide column with 29 in the toss-up column, with Donald Trump at 350 electoral votes, and of course the Democrats at 159. But they're probably going to gain in electoral votes. New Jersey, I see as leaning into the Democratic column. Actually, likely. I don't know why I didn't characterize that race as likely before, but Delaware could get a little bit closer, leaning in the favor of the Democrats. Delaware was only decided by 10%, I believe, in 2016. Rhode Island, I would also characterize as either leaning or likely. My bad. And Connecticut, I would see as right now leaning in the Democratic column. And then, of course, this 1st district up here, that's pretty iffy. Right now, I'm actually going to put that one as leaning in the Democratic column only because it was a very big voting area for Hillary Clinton in 2016 compared to the rest of the state of Maine. So right now, I would give the race 350 electoral votes, give the map give the election with Donald Trump at 350 electoral votes, with 216 safe in his column, 94 in the likely column, and 40 in the leaning column. For the Democrats, 20 in the leaning column, 33 in the likely column, and 135 in the safe column, giving them a total of 188 electoral votes. So that's our final electoral map. This was the 2020 presidential election if the economy was booming. You can check out my channel to see the 2020 election if an economic depression. I know I have done a recession before, but this is a depression. A lot will change in the favor of the Democratic Party for obvious reasons. Thank you guys for watching this video. Comment down suggestions below, and I will see you all tomorrow.